My name is Kaishan Kong. I'm assistant professor of Chinese in the Department of Languages. The course we're talking about is Chinese 102. That's the beginning Chinese class. So students in this class, they have already learned Chinese for one semester, or they have equivalent proficiency. And for Chinese 102 is a one step further to train students multiple skills in speaking Chinese, speaking, writing, listening, reading, and translating. So the objectives include helping students to conduct conversation in Chinese on some everyday topics, such as school life, learning a language, shopping, traveling, and transportation. So these are the chapters we cover in this semester. And to satisfy these objectives, I would conduct or have a wide variety of activities. And also I include Chinese students on campus to our classroom. So my American students or domestic students can have some authentic conversation with the native speakers. They can be exposed to different accents, different way of speaking. I also want to help my students develop complexity of speaking a language. So if they have a chance to go to China, or if they have a chance to talk to native speakers, they will not be always memorizing the rehearsed sentence. If they are exposed to other ways of speaking, I always encourage them to try, be creative to use the language. The activity and lecture you filmed was one chapter. We are talking about shopping. So like I mentioned, I want students to be exposed to Chinese authentic as we can, the Chinese culture. So I turned the classroom, but before the lecture you filmed, students already learned the basic terms in the market. And I also introduced to them that bargaining is a very unique part of Chinese culture. Some people do bargaining just to get a lower price, and some people do bargaining just for the fun of it. Or some Americans or Chinese language learners do bargaining just to practice the language. So the class before you're filming, students learn different terms of bargaining, and I wanted them to utilize all the Chinese they've learned before and make a list of things they could say to the seller, and also a list of things they could say to a buyer. If you were a seller, how would you convince the buyer to buy your stuff using Chinese? Vice versa. If you were a buyer, how do you convince the seller to lower the price? So students were excited, and I told them the next class, which is the one you filmed, I told them I'll bring in some artifacts from China. I'm not going to tell you how much it costs, but you are going to be paired up with one student and just freely use whatever you have prepared or create new things to bargain. At the end of the class, at the end of the bargaining, I would tell them the actual price of the artifact to see who made the profit, if the seller made a profit or if the buyer got a good deal. And also, prior to this lesson, students learned about how to express or talk about currency, like US, how many dollars, or Chinese RMB, yuan, different ways to say the currency. And in this way, students get to practice, like, how about 5 yuan? How about 4.5 yuan? I'm a student, I don't have money. And the seller would say, I'm a poor mom, I have 3 kids to raise. I cannot believe how creative the students were. So I think it was a comprehensive activity to give students chance to improve the integrative skills. I want my students to have fun, because I think if you learn a language, I don't want students to sit in my class just to fulfill the language requirement. This could be the original reason why they came to my Chinese class. But I'm happy that some of them found, Chinese is not as notoriously difficult as I thought. It can be fun. After I learn a few essential grammar structures, it's totally doable and it's fun. So in class, part of what I do is to naturally introduce cultural perspectives. So I want students to leave the classroom to know that language and culture are not separated. Language represents culture. Culture is reflected in language. And I hope they have fun when they communicate with Chinese people. They can be more aware of the cultural richness reflecting the language, and they can continue learning even on their own.